everybody? What is up? So, I know the first question that I'm going to get asked tonight rather, this is a bit of a late stream. First question I'm going to get asked is Wonder Bro, where is your webcam? Where is your face? Hear me out. My drivers need updated, and the computer needs a complete update. However, I don't feel like necessarily doing that and then streaming. I would rather do the stream now. Worry about the PC update and the driver updates later. So basically, it's giving me some trouble, and I believe that is the culprit. I believe I need to update everything, and I don't necessarily feel like waiting around for that. So that is why my face is not on your screens today. I don't want to postpone the stream any longer since it's already getting kind of late, about 8 o'clock my time. So I want to go ahead and do the stream. We'll just have to do it without my pretty face today. I know, it's so disappointing, right? I bet you're all so disappointed. Um, what is up, Sky? First in the stream, how you doing, dude? Edward, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Hope you're having a great day slash night. Tonight, guys, we've got a good one in store for you. We're going to let a few minutes go by before we get started. Allow some time for people to get in here. Let's see. While we're waiting on that, I'll go ahead and pull the comments up on my end. Tonight, we're going to be talking about prove yourself to yourself. So a bit of a motivational stream, if you will, right? We're going to talk about how you do have to go there eventually. You have to prove yourself to yourself. You have to live through these experiences, these triggers, these situations that you're not exactly comfortable with in order to prove to yourself that you are capable. So a lot of recovery, I would say, comes down to having a certain level of confidence in yourself, and in order to gain that confidence, you really have to go through it, right? You really have to go through it and prove to yourself that you are capable, that you can do these things without resorting to the coping methods and the compulsions and all that lovely stuff that you know just serves to keep you stuck. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Hopefully a good one. How you doing, Kay? Welcome to the stream. In a bit of a funk, to be honest, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself, but I believe you can turn that around. So hopefully this stream will help you do that. How's everybody doing, man? How's your days been? How has your days been? How have you been? Talk to me, man. Talk to me. We'll give it, like I said, we'll give it a minute to let some people get in here before we actually get started. I had planned on, originally I had planned on streaming yesterday, but I was so sick, man. I got so sick. I don't know what was going on, but it was not a good time, but I'm feeling much better now. I don't have a whole lot of energy. I'm still very much resting up, but we've got enough. We've got enough to work with. My wife triggered me hard. She was like, "Why are you looking like someone who is about to run?" So a lot of the times the people around us don't really know what's going on. They can't really relate to it. So they might say little things that trigger you, not on purpose, but hey, it's good practice, right? It's good practice. How you doing, Moon? Been worrying all day long, but I'm good now. So finally got it under control. Finally got it under control. All right, guys, we're a couple minutes into this. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Again, if you're joining us kind of late, my PC needs an update. My drivers need an update. So instead of fooling with all that, I'm going to go ahead and do the stream. That is why my face is not present at the moment. But the next time we stream, it will be back. Don't you worry. So tonight we're going to be talking about prove yourself to yourself. Prove yourself to yourself. So here's my main point, guys. A lot of the times when it comes down to anxiety and recovery, you're doing little things to keep yourself quote unquote safe. Who can agree with that in the chat? If you can agree with that, show of hands. You are doing little things throughout your everyday life, and if you're honest, with yourself, you will see these things. You are doing little things to keep yourself, quote unquote, safe. There are certain things that you will do and certain things that you won't do in order to feel this safety. There's certain things that you will do and certain things that you won't do in order to make sure that you can keep anxiety kind of at bay, right? Oh God, we do not want to feel anxious. We do not want to feel these difficult emotions. So I'm going to do this thing or not not do this thing in order to keep myself feeling safe, in order to keep myself feeling okay, in order to keep myself anxiety free, right? So you kind of go through each day, you're doing these things, you're not doing these things, whatever, with your main goal being, I don't want to feel anxiety. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel the difficult emotions that come along with feeling anxious, right? Here's the problem. Okay, and if you've been here for a while, you know what we're about to say. Here's the problem with that attitude, with that demeanor. If you're going through your everyday life doing things or not doing things, whatever the case may be, doing things or not doing things in order to feel safe, in order to not feel anxious, okay, the problem with that is, although short term it makes you feel a little bit better, short term you feel like you are holding something back. Short term, you feel like you're doing yourself a favor. What's really happening in the long run when you live life with this demeanor, with this attitude, is that you are using what we call coping methods or compulsions in order to feel this safety, but you are sending the wrong message to the brain the entire time. So now, the quality of your life is reduced because there's certain things you can do and can't do in order to keep anxiety away. And the entire time you are sending the wrong message to the brain. You are telling the brain, by doing these things, I am in danger, there's a problem. So really, if you think about it, the anxiety cycle, right? The anxiety cycle is you trying to keep anxiety at bay by doing things or not doing things. It's the same, right? And while you are doing this, you are sending the message to the brain that says there is a problem, there is a danger, and the cycle continues. Your quality of life is reduced. There starts to become less and less things that you can do because you're totally dictated by what you can and can't do due to anxiety, right? So all these things go into it, but you continue to do it because you want that safety, right? You continue to use these compulsions, coping methods because you want that safety, and you're not willing to take the risk, right? I don't want to do that because what if my anxiety acts up? I don't want to do that because what if that makes my anxiety worse? I don't want to do that because what if this, what if that? I don't want to do that. And then it all comes down to the same underlying message. Really, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the same underlying message. You don't want to do these things, or you're doing these compulsions and coping methods because you're unwilling to feel the anxiety that doing the opposite might bring. Right? So if you think about it, it really all comes down to avoidance. It comes down to avoiding feeling anxious. You don't want to feel anxious. Therefore, you don't put yourself in situations where you might feel anxious. Therefore, when you are feeling anxiety, you do everything in your power. We call that coping methods in order to try to fight it off, right? And it's very, very counterproductive. It's very, very counterproductive. So just to be very straight with you for a second, in order to kind of overcome this thing, we have to have the positive behaviors. Now, we say it all the time, live your life and have the accepting attitude. Here's something a lot of people don't want to accept. When we say positive behaviors, live your life, that does mean that we are trying to reduce and cut out coping methods and compulsions. Now, some people are probably thinking, well, that's going to make me feel worse. It might. It might. Short term, because you're getting rid of your safety net. You're doing things that might make you feel purposely uncomfortable, right, when you quote-unquote live your life. So it might, in the short term, make you feel worse. I say that with quotation marks if you could see me right now. But here's the thing. In order to overcome anxiety, you have to face anxiety. And in order to face anxiety, you have to live your life in a positive manner. And living your life in a positive manner is going to require you to, like I said, reduce and cut out coping methods and compulsions, to put yourself in situations where you know the anxiety is probably going to rise. So for example, let's say person A is so used to every day when they first get up, right? When they first get up, they have morning anxiety, so they like to lay in bed because it makes them feel a little bit better if they lay in bed and kind of avoid life for a little bit, and then they get up and get started. They hear about my channel, they hear about training your brain, retraining your brain, and they know that they should probably get up and just carry on with their day even though they're feeling anxious. Now to them, that sounds like a death sentence. They're thinking, oh my God, if I do that, it's only going to make the anxiety worse, but he says I have to use positive behavior, right? But that's just going to make it worse. Okay, so you see what I'm getting at with this. They should be getting up and getting on with their day despite the anxiety. Yes. Is it going to make the anxiety feel a bit more intense short term? It might, because they're getting rid of their usual coping methods, compulsions, and safety net. But at the end of the day, when they go about it that way, they are training their brain. They're showing their brain that everything is okay, that the danger does not exist. So it's really ironic in that way. In order to get the long term benefits, you might have to take the hit. You might have to take some short term discomfort. And that is not a problem. If you are using what we call positive behavior, right? And it almost feels like it's making your anxiety a bit more intense. That is not a bad thing. In fact, that could be a very good thing. It means that you're cutting your safety nets loose. It means that you're doing something different. It means that you're changing it up. It means that you're sending a different message to your brain, right? So, when we talk about positive behavior, a lot of people don't want to accept that it does require a letting go of the person you used to be. It does require a letting go of your safety nets and compulsions and coping methods. And in the short term, that might make you feel some intense ways, but in the long term, you're finally sending the correct message to the brain. So that's something you have to accept if you're ready and willing to dedicate to recovery. So I'll give another example because I love teaching with examples. Let's say there's somebody who every time they get anxious, they like to run to bed, and I don't know, whatever they do, they just like to run to bed. Anytime the anxiety gets too much, they like to run away. They like to run to bed. They like to run to the couch. They just like to run away from whatever it is that they're doing, right? That's their thing. They run away. That's always been their thing. They run away. Now, when they learn about positive behavior, they might think to themselves, well, this is all great and good. But the next time they're in that moment where the anxiety is starting to grow, and their old ways of living is that anytime the anxiety grows, that means run to bed, right? And they decide, okay, I'm not going to do that this time because that's not positive behavior. So they just stick with whatever it is they're doing while they let the anxiety be. They might think to themselves in that moment, okay, I'm doing positive behavior. I didn't run to bed this time. But my goodness, this does not feel comfortable. I want to run to bed. You got to understand, guys, right? You got to understand that is the point. That is the point. I never said that positive behavior means that the anxiety is going to instantly go away. I never said that positive behavior means that it's going to be comfortable. I never said positive behavior means that it's going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? I wish it was, but that's just not the case. You start dedicating to what we call positive behavior, right? AKA cutting out the negative crap, the coping methods, the compulsions. That might make you feel a little bit more intense short term, because you're not using your safety nets. But in the long term, you're now sending the right message, which takes me to the point of today's stream. Prove yourself to yourself. So next time you're feeling pretty anxious or worked up over whatever it might be, whether it's a specific trigger, a thought, a situation, whatever the case might be, next time you're super anxious and you decide that you're going to do something different, you decide that you're going to not use your coping method, not use your compulsion. You're just going to keep doing what you're doing. You're not going to run to bed even though you want to run to bed, or, whatever your compulsions or behavior is. That's up for you to determine. You decide you're not going to do that and you're just going to use what we call positive behavior instead and stick with it. Understand that that might be an intense experience for you, but in the short term, even though it might be intense, you are sending the right message in the long term, and that's what matters. So a good way to look at it is, let's say, for example, yes, right now I could run to bed. Yes, right now I could grab from my phone and do that compulsion. Yes, I could grab from my phone and do the Dr. Google thing, or yes, I could grab from my phone and call my friend and talk about anxiety because that relaxes me. Yes, I could do all the things that I've been doing for so many weeks, months, and years, and that might bring me a little bit relief in the moment. But by doing that, I'm just going to continue to go down the same path I've always been going down. So if you want to go down a new path, right, if you want to send a new message to your brain, you got to do things differently. I think a few weeks ago we talked about how if you want different results, you got to take different action, right? That makes sense. When you put it that way, that makes perfect sense. You want different results? Okay, well, you got to try different things. You got to take different action. The reason people tend to not do that, however, is because, yes, it can be an intense experience. When you're not using your coping methods, compulsions, and negative safety-seeking behavior that you're so used to using, even if it is something as simple as running to bed, When you're not using that stuff, it can make it feel pretty intense, right? Because you're essentially cutting away the safety net. You're essentially doing something different, and that can be intense. But understand, in the long term, you are going to reap the benefits if you can stick with it in the short term, right? And my question, right, to you is, do you want your quality of life back? Do you want who you know that you are back? Do you want to be the person that you've always wanted to be? If the answer to those questions is yes, I think you can handle the short-term discomfort for the long-term gain. So let's say that again, because that's an excellent way to put it. Short-term discomfort. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to underestimate how uncomfortable it can be. Let's rephrase that. A lot of short-term discomfort, right? But for some long-term gain, some true changes, right? You have to prove yourself to yourself. So I understand that everybody, I say it all the time, everybody's allowed to go at their own pace. With this thing, you're allowed to go at your own pace. You're also allowed to not be perfect. However, there does need to come a point where you're willing to prove yourself to yourself. There does need to come a point where you're willing to face some high anxiety. There does need to come a point where you're willing to do things differently, different actions, different results, and deal with the uncomfort and the discomfort and the anxiety that brings, right? Right? There does need to come a point where you're willing to deal with a lot of discomfort with the changes that you're making in order to see that long-term gain. Okay, and that's what the point of this stream is all about, guys. You have to prove yourself to yourself. I know you can do it. You might not have a lot of confidence in yourself right now, but I want you to remind yourself that this is not the real you. Anxiety has put this shadow over you and has made you behave and act a certain way for so long that you might think this is the real you, but this is not the real you. You know the real you, and the real you, the quote-unquote real you, is waiting to come out. You just have to start making better decisions, and that's going to require facing some discomfort. All right, you guys, that was the point of tonight's stream. I hope you beautiful people enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a big thumbs up. I would say let's head on over to post stream, but we're already there. I will get those updates rolling. That way next time we do have the face cam. I apologize for that, but if you did enjoy the stream, make sure you leave that thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. We're going to put on, I think Sanchez suggested some Miami Vice. So you know what? That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have to sit through an ad real quick. What is up, Jen? Welcome to the stream. Classics. I was a Super Sonic fan much later. I grew up with Sonic X from mid-2000s. I've never watched a whole lot of Sonic, but it is a classic. It is a classic. I do know that much. So let's get us some music rolling. Hopefully it's not too loud. Genesis does what Nintendo don't. I remember that. I mean, I wasn't around for that, but I do remember watching old video game commercials, and that was on there. Catchy, man. Catchy. What a catchy little phrase. That was clever marketing, I must say. Clever marketing. Hey, man, it's always going to come down to proving yourself to yourself. Nintendo was the shiz. I think the first real console that I pretty much spent a lot of time on as a kid was the Nintendo 64. What's up, Straight Flush? Hey, Wonder Bro, can you do a stream on health anxiety and how to accept physical sensations and deal with the anxiety associated with them? So the beautiful thing about the advice that we share here is that it applies to health anxiety too. It's not a different ballgame. We sometimes say context is irrelevant, so it's not a different ballgame. It's not a different set of moves that you're going to have to take. When we're speaking of health anxiety or anxiety in general, it's all the same. The root problem is that you're stressing your nerves with fighting, with using the compulsions and the negative behaviors, right? So whether it's health anxiety or not health anxiety, it's always going to come down to those two main keys, which is the positive behavior, okay? That means cutting compulsions, cutting coping methods, all that good stuff. the accepting positive behavior, and the accepting attitude. So you allow yourself to have the thoughts and feelings without mentally trying to argue with them and fight with them, and you use that positive behavior, cut out those coping methods and compulsions. And that is the beautiful thing about the two main keys, is that it applies to health anxiety, whatever the case may be. It does not matter. So, for example, health anxiety, you're triggered because a thought says you're going to, I don't know, have a heart attack, right? And you let that thought be. You say to yourself, okay, you know, it is what it is. You don't try to mentally argue with that, because that's like fighting with a toddler, right? So you accept that thought, and then you use accepting behavior. You don't grab for the coping methods, compulsions. That might cause anxiety to be a bit intense short term, but you're going to be training the brain the right way. You're going to get the long-term benefits. PlayStation 2 was my first. Nice. PlayStation 2 is a classic. Classic. I have a lot of memories with the PlayStation 2. I love retro gaming and history of video games. Yeah, it's so much fun, especially when you go down that rabbit hole on YouTube. Normally we avoid rabbit holes here, but if you're on a YouTube rabbit hole with video game history, I don't see the problem. I go down those rabbit holes from time to time. I have a YouTuber I like to watch called LGR. He does old video game tech reviews, stuff like that. It is a good night, man. A good night. I only slept about 4 hours, so I'm a little low on the energy. Okay, I apologize for that, but we're here, man. We still showed up. We're here. You got to prove yourself to yourself, man. Every day is a perfect opportunity for that. Doing something that you don't think you're capable of doing, really proving to yourself that you can do it, even in the little things, right? Let's say today you're going to decide to not use a certain compulsion, whatever that might be, I don't know. Let's say today you're going to decide not to use that compulsion, right? And that might make your anxiety kind of intense because you're used to using that compulsion. But today you're going to decide not to, but you were able to deal with it, and you were able to see it through. And by the time, you know, that night is over, you're going to be like, wow, I proved myself to myself. And it's little victories like that that's going to add up and really help with the confidence, you know, and help you score some experience points. All right, let's see here. Oh, we got an ad, but I caught it. Do the do will spike that sugar and energy. I'm trying to cut down, man. I'm trying to cut back on the do. I'm really trying to cut back on the do. Let's see. It feels good doing it, but the thing is my brain keeps giving me thoughts of fear that I can keep facing it. Becomes overwhelming. So your brain, of course, will continue to throw you all these loopholes, right? Your brain will continue kind of automatically to want to try to suck you into this second fear. It's your job to allow that. It's your job to allow those thoughts and feelings that say you can't do it and to do it anyway, right? That's your job. No, I agree with you, dude. I agree with you. Healthy depending on circumstances. It's good to have hobbies. I agree with you. Absolutely, absolutely. Got some car talk going on in the chat. I'll be honest, I've never been a really big car guy, but feel great after. But then my brain says, well, you can face this and that too, because it wants to feel good again and it wants that dopamine. So, I mean, gaining confidence, right? A big part of the journey is gaining confidence. And that's really what the point of today's stream was all about, proving yourself to yourself. I mean, if every time you feel extremely anxious and you resort to a coping methods for, coping methods, for example, you're honestly going to start to believe that you can't do it. Right? Because every time anxiety gets intense, you resort to a coping method or a compulsion. So after a while, you're honestly going to start to believe that you just can't do it. So we've got to get you to a point where you can prove yourself to yourself, So next time this thing rolls around, or next time you're triggered, or next time, it's time to prove yourself, you can be like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. So really, this stream is all about trying to get that confidence going. It's trying to get that confidence building. And I know it can be intense. I know it can be intense to have to face these things or face certain situations or certain triggers without your coping methods or compulsions. But you got to prove yourself to yourself, man. You got to prove that, yes, I can do this without resorting to this. Or, yes, I can do that without resorting to that, right? Yes, I can experience this high anxiety without using this coping method, for example. Or, yes, I can experience this intense anxiety without resorting to this compulsion. Right? So really it's just a set of behaviors. It's a set of behaviors that you're used to. It's a set of behaviors that's been sending the wrong message to the brain. Now we're going to use new behaviors, and that's going to require facing some fear, dude. That's going to require facing some high anxiety, right? That's going to require facing some intense anxiety. Or you're a biker? I'm definitely not a biker. Toyota hatchback, man. Nothing fancy like you guys are talking about. 1990 YSI 347 boom boom. Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to cars. If it gets me to point A to point B, that's enough. That's enough. Do I look like a car guy on the surface? I mean, I guess I kind of seem like I might be a car guy on the surface. And nobody tells me, so how do I know if I'm behaving appropriately or not unless people tell me? Well, when we say positive behavior, it's nothing that you need to overcomplicate. We just simply mean cut out any sort of compulsions or coping methods, right? That's a good way to kind of sum up positive behavior. If you're not using coping methods or compulsions, you can rest assured, right? Here's a good way to put it. You can rest assured that you're on the right track. So does that make it a little bit easier for you to follow if we say it like that? Does that make it a little bit easier to follow if we put it like that? Sometimes people get a bit confused what we mean by positive behavior, but literally positive behavior just means the opposite of compulsions, coping methods, all that sort of negative behavior. Let's say, for example, you're used to living each day with all of these negative type behaviors like Dr. Google, or calling a friend every time you're anxious, or running around the house or running to bed. Let's say, today you decided to just get on with your business. You didn't run to bed, right? That could be your positive behavior. You didn't do that compulsion. Problem for me is that I've faced so many fears, made so much progress, but my brain as always keeps giving me things I can improve or face fears more and more, which is not necessarily a problem, right? Unless you're telling yourself very negative things about that. Not necessarily a problem to want to continue to improve, but it's definitely something that you don't have to obsess about. You can kind of tackle these fears as they come. It's not really something you have to sit around each day and obsess so far into the future about, right? I would recommend trying to take it more day by day, tackling these fears as they pop up. Again, not really something you have to sit back and obsess about. A lot of people do tend to do that. I say take it day by day, man. What's your fear today? You know, what are you afraid of today? Are you tempted with a compulsion today? Don't use it. Are you tempted with a coping method today? Don't use it, right? Take it day by day. I know that's easier said than done, but you're the man. I've been following you for some time now. I've lived with anxiety pretty much my whole life. I watched hours and hours of your videos, started using acceptance for 4 or 5 months now. I have had good days and anxious days, sometimes weeks even feeling, then weeks again of anxious feelings. However, I think I perfected my acceptance. I never ever worry. So it definitely sounds like you're on the right track, dude. It sounds like you're on the right track. Everything you're describing is completely normal, by the way. Ups and downs are very, very expected part of recovery. Expect to have good days and expect to have quote-unquote anxious days. Take advantage of those anxious days. Do not see them as a bad thing. See them as a chance to do what the title of this stream says. Prove yourself to yourself. Accept it, and the whole live your life as normal part basically just comes down to, we're trying to simplify it, basically comes down to cutting out the compulsions and the coping methods. Do I have some tunes in the shaggin' wagon? Not really. A very crappy standard factory stereo. Pimp My Ride. Yeah, I need to sign up. Where do I sign up? That used to be a pretty good show, actually. I remember watching that as a kid. I don't know if I was a kid, but when I was much younger. Hey, you're definitely on the right track, dude. You said every time I get triggered, I feel my feelings, accept it, and move on with whatever I'm doing. You're definitely on the right track. I don't see anywhere in that where I could possibly correct you. Yeah, I don't see anywhere in your messages where you need corrected. I mean, that all sounds perfect to me. You're practicing acceptance. You're practicing accepting the thoughts and feelings. You're cutting out the compulsions, the coping methods, what we call negative behavior, right? I don't see anything wrong with anything that you've said. I would just say at this point, keep it up. At this point, keep it up. That's perfect. It was all staged. Yeah, I know. I watched, it's funny you mentioned that. I watched a YouTube video on it the other day. You might have watched the same one, Sanchez, where it was talking about how a lot of the contestants didn't even agree with half of the script, but they did it anyway. So it was a bummer when you learned that, but it was still fun. It was still fun to watch. Whenever I take a pill, my anxiety instantly triggered. So this is the point where we start to talk about context is irrelevant, Christine, right? So context is irrelevant. Anxiety's job is to get you to worry, and it doesn't really care what the context is. So in your case, it might be taking your medication, right? You know, context is irrelevant. Anxiety's job is to get you to worry, to use the coping methods, to use the compulsions, right? Now, whether it's taking a pill in your case or whether it's someone with health anxiety, whatever, context irrelevant. Sanchez, my man, coming in with the $20 tip, says, my brother, let's hit tip goal. Thank you so much, Sanchez, for our first tip of the night, man. We're on a 117-day streak. Thank you guys so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Can we give a round of applause in the chat to my boy Sanchez? Thank you for that, dude. I appreciate you. Yeah, so context irrelevant, Christine. Context irrelevant. It's all going to come down to acceptance at the end of the day. You got to prove to your brain that the danger is not real. How do you do that? Cut out the compulsions, cut out the coping methods, and instead use that positive behavior, right? That might, you know, in the short term cause some increased anxiety, but in the long term, you are going to be sending the right message to the brain. So it's about that short term discomfort for that long term gain. That's what it's really all about. Doing things that you didn't think you were capable of doing, seeing the anxiety right through, and proving to yourself that you can do it, right? Title of this stream: proving yourself to yourself. That's what it's all about. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some dedication. It's going to take doing things differently and facing some anxiety, but I absolutely believe in your ability. Let's go back on this playlist. There we go. There we go. I like this track a little bit better. A little bit more upbeat. Cindy, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. I want your opinion on this message. I'm sorry it was a long message. No, I read all of your messages, and it sounds like you're absolutely on the right track. I don't see anything that you could possibly be doing wrong. You said that you're accepting the thoughts and feelings. You said that you're getting on with your day when they're there. You're not really resorting to coping methods or compulsions. You have some good days and you have some days where anxiety is present. However, you're viewing it as an opportunity. You're allowing yourself to feel it. You are accepting it. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong at all with what you're doing. And my opinion on your message is keep it up. That's really all I have to say at this point. Keep it up, dude. Everything that you said is on point. Everything that you said is on track. And at this point, you just got to keep going. You're working on acceptance. You're not using the coping methods, compulsions. You're facing the anxiety. You're doing things differently. You're sending that different message to the brain. Keep it up. That's all I've got to say. Keep it up. You got this, dude. Congrats. Congrats. Some people call it exposures. I like to just be more broad with it. You know, face anxiety every single day in whatever form that anxiety wants to take. Cut back on those compulsions and coping methods. Allow yourself to feel it. Prove yourself to yourself. That's the way I like to put it. I just like to put it more generally like that. Hi, hello, Miss Alien Lady. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Thanks, Wonder Bro. Absolutely, dude. Keep it up. I don't see, like I said, I don't see any problem at all with anything that you've said. It sounds like you're right on track. You should be proud. Hey, you would be proud of me, Sanchez. You would be proud of me. I'm cutting back on the dew. I'm going to switch to Sprite because it's caffeine free. Right? And hopefully from there, we'll even cut that out eventually. So you would be proud of me. You would be proud of me. I'm hoping it helps with my sleep, dude. I'm going to start exposure therapy on a daily basis for a month or two. What do you think about that? I think if you're ready for it, go for it. You know what I mean? Actually, let me rephrase that. You're never technically ready for that sort of thing, right? You're never technically ready because it can be an intense experience, right? So you're never technically, quote unquote, ready. Let me think of a different way to word that. If you are going at the pace that you are comfortable with going with, when it comes to facing the discomfort. So don't get me wrong there. You're never going to go at a pace where you don't have to face discomfort. You will have to face discomfort. But if you think it's a good call for your journey right now, go for it. Go for it. Absolutely. Eventually you have to come to that point. Either way, right? Whether you ever feel ready or not, eventually you have to go for that. Eventually you do have to face the discomfort. So you're never technically, quote unquote, ready, right? So everybody eventually has to make that choice, right? Like it's time to face this. And if you're to the point where you've made that decision, I absolutely support it. I absolutely support it. Sprite, okay, good start. Good start. Too much caffeine keeping you up. I know, right? Yeah, so we're gonna make that adjustment there. Too much caffeine. Yeah, I mean, eventually, whether you feel quote unquote ready or not, you got to make that decision sooner or later. Sooner or later, you've got to make the decision to go for it. Sooner or later, you've got to make the decision to face some discomfort. This journey does require you facing some discomfort and making choices that might make you uncomfortable, right? So sooner or later, if you're dedicated to recovery, you've got to make that decision. Hey, I'm gonna face some discomfort today, in whatever way that might be. Whether it's I'm not gonna use this coping method today, okay, cool. I'm not gonna use this compulsion today, okay, cool. And that's gonna probably bring some discomfort, but hey, that's the right choice to make if you want to start sending a different message to your brain. As far as the medication goes, Christine, you say that it might be the antidepressants that make you feel a certain way. Of course, I can't give much of an opinion on that. It's a slippery slope. It's something you need to talk to your doctor about. I can't really say one way or another because I don't know, right? I don't know. I don't know if it's the antidepressants doing this or if it's not. You're just psyching yourself out. I don't know. I don't know what the medication is. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to medication. So not really qualified to give an opinion on that, so to speak. It's just something you'd have to speak to your doctor about. I will say this though. You would be surprised, right? I will say this. You'd be surprised just how much you probably are just psyching yourself out, right? Second fear can cause so much havoc, and then we tend to blame that on other things. So I will say that. The advice remains the same to you, regardless of what you decide to do. I'll also say that whether you decide to stay on them or talk to your doctor about getting off of them or whatever choice you make, the advice remains the same. The advice that we share here remains the same. It's our job to prove to evolution that we don't need all this protection. I know I done my part for sure. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that statement more, Sean. Perfect way to put it. I'm planning to do these social freedom challenges such as laying on ground where there is groups of public talking to people a lot. Something I've done in the past and felt amazingly confident. That sounds awesome, dude. I always think I'm damaging my heart when I expose myself to anxieties. Your vids start to help though. Yeah, so there's all sorts of very false second fear beliefs that people hold, right? And that can definitely be one of them. Oh, I can't use acceptance. It's damaging me. Just very irrational false beliefs. And again, the advice doesn't change. You might have to face those false beliefs, and those false beliefs might be there while while you are using acceptance, while you are challenging yourself, and that's okay. We're going to learn to move through them rather than try to fight against them. Is this your full-time job? Yes, it is. Anything fun this weekend? Not a whole lot of fun this weekend. The weekend started off kind of rough for me. I was really, really sick, having some stomach issues, but thankfully that didn't last too long. So we're here. For fun, I'm pretty typical. I like to do things like gaming. I'm a huge gamer. Love gaming. I'm not a big movie person though. There's a lot of people in chat that are big movie buffs, and I don't know. It's hard for me to really get into a good movie. I don't know why. I've always been that way. Been playing Fallout 4 a lot lately. Such a good game. Classic classic. I don't know why there's so much hate for Fallout 4. I love Fallout 4. Halo, the Master Chief Collection. Yes, yes. Now, I loved Halo. Halo 3 was my game back in the day. Halo 3, it was my game. So who's up for it, man? Who is up for it? Who's up for it? I want to see a show of hands. Who is up for it in the chat? Who's going to take the time this weekend to do what the title of this stream says, to prove themselves to themselves? Who is up for the challenge to do things differently, even if just for the weekend? Even if just for a start. Who is up for the challenge of maybe doing something a bit different? I don't care if it's small. I don't care if it's a small thing. Doesn't matter to me. Let's say, for example, every time you're anxious, you call your best friend. That's your coping method. Maybe this weekend you're not going to call them, right? When you're feeling anxiety, when you're anxious. Maybe that's going to be your challenge this weekend. Who's up for a little bit of a challenge, right? Who is up for a little bit of a challenge? I love to see it. Love to see it. Hey, that's where you do the most growing, man. That's where you do the most growing, is in the trenches, is in the discomfort. That's where you do the most growing. You don't think you're capable. We got to prove to yourself that you're capable, right? We're going to have a hard road ahead if we don't start to prove to you that you are capable. We got to prove to you that you're capable, and that's going to require facing some fear. That's going to require facing, some intense anxiety, because you're going to do things differently. You're going to do things differently. Now, some of you might be, like Miss Alien Lady said, challenging every day. Some of you might already be challenging yourselves every single day. Whatever the case may be, maybe you're just in the information phase and you haven't been challenging yourself. You're still using all the compulsions and the coping methods. Well, maybe you can start small this weekend and cut one of those out. Whatever the case may be, we got to get you started, right? Oh my God. That scared me. That shook me up a bit. Jen. Thank you so much, Jen. Mega the Brain. Jen with the $10 tip. Thank you so much. No tip note, but thank you so much, Jen, for the $10 tip. We are 20 away from tip goal, guys. Oops, I changed that to 10. There we go. We are on a 117-day streak. That is insane. Thank you guys so much for the love and support. I really appreciate you. Can we get a round of applause in the chat from my brother Sanchez with the $20 tip and Jen coming in with the $10 tip? Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I love you. I love you. When anxiety is on and I'm living life, it gets easier every day. Exactly. You know why it's getting easier? Because you're proving to yourself that you can do it. You are proving yourself to yourself, the title of the stream, and that's why it's getting easier for you, because you're gaining some confidence. You're able to look back and say, hey, you know what? Yesterday I could do this. You're able to look back and say, hey, last week I did this. You're able to look back and say, hey, I survived that without using coping methods and compulsions. You're able to look back and say, hey, I survived that too without using coping methods and compulsions, right? You're gaining the confidence. You're gaining the confidence. What is this? A notification for a weather advisory? Oh God, what is it? Severe weather, what is it? What's the problem? Oh, a wind advisory. Oh, okay, no big deal. We're under a wind advisory pretty much 24/7 where I live, so that is not uncommon. We get such high winds. I live like in between two mountains, and it's just like, yeah, I get absolutely slammed by the wind. So nothing out of the ordinary there. Forgot the note. It's okay, Jen. Thank you so much for the $10 tip. I really appreciate your support. You have no idea. Thank you so much. Wonder Bro, I'm going for another haircut this week again. Yes, that is my boy. Guess what? You're gaining confidence. Confidence is a big part of the journey, man. I can't stress that enough. Confidence is huge. You got to prove yourself to yourself. You got to start cutting those compulsions. cutting those coping methods, which is exactly what you're doing. And because of that, not only are you sending the right message to the brain, finally, right? But you're also gaining confidence in yourself. Those two things are huge. They're important. Prove yourself to yourself. If anybody out there watching right now is at the point in their journey where they haven't been doing a lot of proving themselves to themselves, they've been using the coping methods and compulsions, they're not really working on it, that's fine. Better late than never. Get started now. Do something tonight that's different, right? I don't know what that might be. I'm trying to think of little examples here. Let's say you are used to, I don't know, what's a good little example? Let's say you are used to sleeping with the TV on because it helps with your anxiety. So anytime you get anxious, you turn the TV on, right? You're like, oh God, anxiety, turn the TV on. I can't sleep without it. Maybe tonight you can try to sleep without the TV on. I don't know, just little examples of things that you can do to challenge yourself and prove yourself to yourself. It doesn't matter, big or small. I use the TV as a coping method. Well, tonight I'm going to try to sleep without the TV on. I'm trying to think of little examples, because a lot of times people underestimate the little stuff goes a long way. The little stuff goes a long way. It really does. So challenge yourself, man. Challenge yourself. Got to start proving yourself to yourself. You really do. See how this works? See how this works? We're purposely bringing on some anxiety in order to gain some confidence. We're purposely bringing on some anxiety so we can work with it instead of against it. We're purposely bringing on some anxiety so we can prove to the brain that all is well. We're purposely bringing on some anxiety so that we can gain some confidence with it. We're purposely bringing on, so you see where I'm getting at with this. You see where I'm getting at with this. Hey, what's up, Jesse? It's been a minute. I challenged Wonder Bro to a healing battle. How you been, my brother from another world? How are you doing, Jesse? I've been good, man. I was sick the other day, but I'm feeling much better now. The approach makes all the difference. Absolutely. What's up, Marvin? Always be looking at the anxiety like if you are learning to not be scared of swimming, you keep practicing. Exactly. See it as an opportunity, not as a bad thing, right, Jesse? Until it's nothing, you realize just in a kiddie pool. Exactly. But you can never come to that realization if you don't face it. And that's why we're talking about challenging yourself tonight. That's why we're talking about that positive behavior, which positive behavior just simply means cutting out the negative behavior, the coping methods and compulsions, right? It's going to feel like you're cutting away your safety net, but you got to prove yourself. You got to prove yourself to yourself. You got to gain that confidence against anxiety. You got to gain that confidence against anxiety. There's only one way to gain the confidence against anxiety: by living differently. Different actions, different results. I haven't felt any better this week, but I've been out and about more this week than all year. Just accepting what is. That is awesome, Marvin. The fact that you say, I haven't felt any better this week, well, you're not necessarily supposed to at first, right? We talk about how, facing that can make the anxiety feel kind of intense, but you're learning how to deal with it. You're learning how to accept it. You're learning how to move through it rather than against it. This is all normal. This is all a part of it. Changing my route, my mind was like, what? No. And now it doesn't bother me, especially because I used DoorDash as exposure therapy. So, I mean, again, we just said different action, different results. That's a perfect example of that, Sanchez. Keep it up, dude. Keep it up. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. You should all be very proud of yourselves. I know it's not the easiest thing in the world to go against anxiety's advice. That's an understatement. That's an understatement. But you can do it. You absolutely can do it. Press the like button. Yes, I would appreciate that. Thank you, Sky, for reminding me in the stream. I do appreciate it. Good stream tonight, guys. Good stream tonight. We've been streaming for an hour already. Wow. That flew by. That flew right by. Time flies when you're having fun, right? We're almost at that hour mark, about 5 minutes away. So good seeing you guys, as always. I miss you, beautiful people. I miss you, beautiful people. Do something fun tonight, man. Do something fun. Do something out of your norm tonight. Might cause you to feel a bit of discomfort. That's fine. That's what we want. Do something fun. Do something out of your norm. And while you're feeling that discomfort, I want you to remind yourself that's a sign that you're growing. That's what we call growing pains. You are sending a new message, man. You're sending a new message. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. It was only possible because of you, Wonder Bro. I feel better. That is awesome, Sanchez. Comments like that, dude. Comments like that. Why I do what I do. We're jamming. I love this soundtrack, dude. I love it. Especially this song specifically. What's this called? It's not one. Miami Sky, I believe. I love it. I believe, it's funny you mentioned that, Marvin. I believe there's actually something in one of the Dr. Claire Weeks books where she mentions that it's best to just go for it. She actually mentions the same thing. It's best to just go for it instead of spending so much time obsessing about it. Which makes perfect sense. You spend too much time obsessing about it, you're probably going to talk yourself right out of it. Right out of it. We're vibing tonight, man. We're vibing. I only slept 4 hours, like I said, but I'm just gonna stay awake. I'm gonna make myself stay awake until a little bit later tonight, and then I'll try to catch some Z's. Hopefully fix the sleep schedule. You guys probably get so sick of hearing that. I get sick of myself saying that. But hey, it is what it is. We're cutting back on the caffeine. That should help. That should help the old sleep schedule. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm Skullicious. Hey, I appreciate that, Fast. I have been trying to grow the Twitter recently. Another live stream with a guest, so a podcast. Sanchez itching for another podcast. I see you. Some magnesium. I've heard about it. I've heard stories. Think I should give it a shot? I'll tell you what I'm ready for, dude. I'm ready for Stranger Things 4. I am ready for Stranger Things 4 like you wouldn't believe. When is that supposed to be happening exactly? I've never tried it, Sky. Pistachios? Are you memeing? Or is that really a thing? Is that really a thing? Ready for the Star Wars Obi-Wan series. So there's a new Star Wars series. Is that like a Netflix thing? Netflix exclusive, I would assume. You know, I wish I slept at night like I used to sleep in school. You know, when you're just like, you were sitting at your desk and the teachers were going on and blah, blah, blah. You know, you just sleep like a baby right then and there. It's like the most beautiful thing. And you knew you probably wouldn't get away with it, but you were just so tired, you're so sleepy, but it was like the best sleep you ever had. And it was like, man, I wish I slept like that. I wish I slept like that. Disney Plus. Oh, that's right. Star Wars is like a Disney thing now, right? Or has been for a little while. But yeah, that was, man, oof, that was some of the best sleep I ever had. Some of the best sleep I ever had right there. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. School teachers are like good ASMR. Best comment ever. Best comment ever. So true. So true. Just watch a class presentation on YouTube. Instant sleep. Instant sleep, dude. I don't know. There's something about that crispy school AC, you know, first thing in the morning, and using your binder. It's supposed to have your homework in it, but definitely doesn't, as a pillow. Oh, just some of the best sleep in the world. You can go right to sleep, man. Go right to sleep. I was the worst student. If we're talking about school, I was, man, I was the worst. I was not the role model student. My compulsions are entirely mental, pure, so puro, all common, right? And that's where the accepting attitude comes into play. So your compulsions might be entirely mental, and that's where we've got to do the work then, right? So it doesn't matter, physical or mental, the work can be done. I can't really force the thoughts to go away, and you shouldn't try to, because the more you try to force them away, it's like arguing with a toddler. So do I accept them too? So the thoughts come, and you absolutely do accept them. You can give yourself an accepting reminder, like you're allowed to be here, right? And that's fine. I hope you're here, right? You can do the opposite of what anxiety expects. So anxiety expects you to argue with these thoughts, but instead you can respond to them with some acceptance. Absolutely. And that might not make you feel the most comfortable short term, but long term you're going to get some results. That's what it's all about. Fortunately, my anxiety didn't take away my sleep. I'm still a pro sleeper. Nothing like sleeping head down on a wooden desk, right? That's what I'm saying. I put on some soundtrack music and boom, I'm asleep instantly. Love it. Started to move on from OCD/anxiety 2 years ago. Started feeling better. Woke up again 2 weeks ago with a panic attack out of nowhere. Thoughts flooding back in. Tough to disregard. So you gotta remember. You gotta remember the basics, right? False alarm. It doesn't have to turn anything other than a brush of panic. That's all it has to be. It can literally just be that, and we can move on from it. So of course you're gonna want to obsess about it. However, just do the opposite of what anxiety expects, right? Accept the thoughts, accept the feelings. We call that the accepting attitude, and continue to live your life. You don't have to resort to the coping methods or compulsions. So all it has to be is a little brush of panic, false alarm, and we move on from there. That is really the goal. Doesn't have to be doesn't have to turn into a big ordeal. I got the worst overall grades in school. I probably did too. To be honest with you. So don't feel bad. Sky was the class clown. I believe it. He is here anyway. We love his jokes. One thing that's I lost it. Where's it at? One thing that's been helping me with my anxiety lately is to just let go of control and embrace chaos. Something that the Joker would approve of, but oh well, it works. No, absolutely, dude. That's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. Letting go of control and embracing it is what needs to be done. That's how you prove yourself to yourself, which is the whole point of this stream. You got to prove to yourself that you can handle it. You got to prove to yourself that you can take the hit. You got to prove to yourself that you can let this thing fully unfold and nothing bad's going to happen, right? So no, I couldn't agree more with your comment actually, Purple. Excellent comment. Have a great day / night, everyone. You too, Sky. Thanks for stopping by, dude. Hey, what's up, Big Up? What's up, Big Up? How you doing? I feel like I'm in a Tron movie. That's my favorite, probably my favorite song from this entire soundtrack. Let's see.
Donation.
Oh my God. Jump scare. Lucy coming in with the jump scare. Why do I always forget to turn that down? Lucy Marie. Thank you so much for the $20 tip. I really appreciate you. We're moving on to a 118-day streak. Thank you so much for that. Can we give a big round of applause to everybody in chat who has contributed tonight, guys? I really appreciate it. Moving on to a 118-day streak. Wow. That is a mouthful. 118 days. Huge shout out to Jen. Huge shout out to Lucy. And huge shout out to Sanchez. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Beautiful people. I don't know what I would do without you. I love you. From the bottom of my heart, I love you. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means to me. I want to see a big old wall of emojis. I want to see a big old wall of emojis in chat to celebrate and show our gratitude to our tippers. Thank you guys so much. 118 days is just insane to me. Take my headset off there for a second. Got recommended to you by a random YouTube comment. Awesome. But been trying to let Panic float, and although I'm still not 100, I think it's working. Excellent, dude. Keep it up. It's definitely a practice. What are your thoughts on meds for anxiety? Of course, I don't really give much of an opinion on meds because it's kind of a personal situation. I leave that up to the person. I personally did not go the medication route. That's really all I can say about that. As far as whether you want to go that route or not, it's really up to you. All I can really say about that is that I didn't go that route. But if that's the route that you want to take, that's your choice. Definitely something to speak with your doctor about. But as far as, you've been trying to let Panic float and you're still not 100, that's fine, dude. You're just starting out. It does take practice. Continue to face it. Continue to embrace it. All right, beautiful people, man. We are past that hour mark. We're going to start winding down here. I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of the love, for all of the support. I couldn't do it without you. This channel would be nothing if it wasn't for you. So thank you so much. As an individual, you do more for this channel than you probably realize. I appreciate all the love, all the support, all the likes, all the comments, the shares. I really do believe that as a community here, we are putting a dent in the amount of suffering in this world, and what more could you ask for? So thank you guys so much for everything that you do, truly, truly, for everything that you do. It's been a good one tonight, man. Challenge yourself. Prove yourself to yourself, right? That is the point of tonight's stream. You are capable, and if you don't believe in you, I believe in you. So do something different tonight, man. Switch it up. Show your brain the truth. I love you guys so, so much. We're going to head on to the end of the stream here. I love you guys. And until next time, as always, stay awesome.